Well, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society of River Falls. I'm Ann Leek. I'm presiding today. It's Community Reading Day. Thank you for being here. We will share readings in a minute, but we're going to go through our usual sort of beginning program. Oh, and I get to do this, right? Okay, here's a chalice lighting. Does anybody want to volunteer to come and light the chalice? Don, thank you. And we are being live streamed, so we can say hello to all the folks at home who weren't able to get here in person. Can we read this together, please? In remembrance and in hope. This is a house of reflection and contemplation, of joy and sorrow, friendship, sharing, and laughter. We light this chalice in remembrance of what we have been and in the hope of what we may become. Thank you. That was one we have had before, but nice words. Okay, already, can you take a few minutes to greet one another?
All right, this is a core group right here. This is Hi, I'm late. I forgot to put my name tag.
Good morning again.
Good to see you. Nice to see you, Allison. Yeah, sex ed. That's a great. Yeah, I'm not sure we could get many volunteers. You know what I heard.
Well, good morning. How are you kids?
All right, let's get him to move back. Yes. Oh, that fast. Hey, David, we've been admiring your yard. You still have some work to do.
More than some.
No, it looks good.
Guess what? They did the piano for 5 days. Yard work.
Oh, you've got two. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't been up there now.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Joys and concerns time. If you have something you'd like to share, come up, put a stone in the water, and tell us what's on your mind.
Yes, as long as I'm standing up, I'll do it. Joy and concern, just a little update on my mother, who will be 100 in December, but I got a call this morning at 6. She fell out of bed. Well, one of us is there with her all the time, so she's back in bed. The nurse is on the way. But I think this is, this story doesn't end well. But she is one tough person. So I called my sister Lisa on the way here. Lisa, if you just think of Mother Teresa, that's my sister Lisa. And she's in Madison, and she said, which side of the bed did she get out of? And I said, the left side of the bed, toward the window. She said, she was going for the light. She's looking for the light, Allison. So Lisa is she's a retired midwife, very holistic, naturalistic, very spiritual. And she is now deep into reading the book that I mentioned that we watched the movie about Wolf's story to her. And she ordered the book right up, and she's finding it completely fascinating. And so she's very sure that my mother is looking for the light. I said, well, I think her left side is her better side. Her right side is weaker. She was just... But anyway, so there's a lot of joy, but a lot of concern. And we're just hoping that... this isn't how she wanted to end her life, but here we are. But we're having as good a time as we can. So. Did I forgot to put a rock in?
No, yes, okay.
Well, we have time. I was doing some research for coming up with a reading that I could share today, and I looked at River Falls Library Community Read from 2024, and it was a book, I can't remember the title now, but it's something about turning your yard into a friendly place for insects and other natural things, because we're losing habitat all over the place. And I read just some quotes. I didn't have the book. One quote was planting wildflowers and prairie grass out in your yard. And I just look out here in the newer labyrinth, which has disappeared, that Tryggve Arsheim was responsible for. And it's just abundant with black-eyed Susan, and I think it was dusty bee bombs or whatever you call them, the purple plant, and the insects are all over that. And another quote in the book was about planting trees very close together. And Nellie Moore did this sort of pine plantation in a circle where the trees are hardly a foot apart. And I was wondering, well, why did they do that? You got to give those trees some space to grow. And the idea is there that the trees, this is expressed in the book, the trees being planted close together like that, their roots intertwine with each other, and they're less susceptible. Plus, they don't grow as tall as an individual tree. And we've seen that branches and trunks have come down all over the place for the individual white pines. But those white pines together are standing, maybe not so tall, but they're standing together down below and up above.
Maybe there's some metaphor there.
Yeah. Well, I just like the fact that without us knowing, we have some things that we've done right, okay?
Okay. Well, here's the big stone for all the joys and sorrows unexpressed. Okay. All right. On the schedule today is community readings. I think some of you have brought things to share, and you are welcome to stay where you are. But Anna, we are, video or taping this live, and also for the YouTube channel. So you'd be heard better if you can come up here. But if not, just be with a microphone. So we have more participation for our screen families that are out there. Okay. I'm going to start off not with a reading, but with a video. In honor of Jonathan, I've expressed recently how much I appreciate, and I think we all do, his technology skills. We were barely limping along technologically, and he's straightened out so many things up there that now are working for us, including making these services available online. And I get to see. Okay. So I'm not a Luddite, but I am certainly a technology phobe. And this, I don't know if you have seen this one. This is called Medieval Help Desk. It's a YouTube video that was popular a few years ago, but I'm just so reminded of UUSRF and Jonathan when I think of this. So Jonathan, can you play Medieval Help Desk? It's got subtitles because I think it's in Norwegian or Swedish. It's not in English, but. Oh, gosh, see, technology.
Now you need to go back to blank screen.
Back, there we go. Okay. So if you have something you'd like to share on printed paper, please come up and we will enjoy listening to selections.
I could start with this one.
Okay.
Maybe if we move the microphone front and
Yeah.
center here,
Yeah.
you would be in the camera range.
You know, let's sit.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna use
okay.
Oh,
Don, if you just want to hand her the microphone, I can move stuff.
I can handle that technology.
yeah.
Can you hold it?
Well,
Or do you want me to
not
hold
really, yeah. It's not very long thing. It's from Medicine Year, and it's written by Thomas R. Smith, who wrote about him and his wife's experience with a near disaster where she had a stroke and she came back from it, but it took a year or more to get back, of course. And she was not a young thing when she had this happen. So I'm going to read a poem.
Just a minute. All right.
It's called Lighthouse. So much has happened to us and around us since Christmas. Surgeries and viruses. So much has changed in us and in the world. We might easily forget if we didn't take special care to remember that, fear and turmoil notwithstanding, today is the anniversary of the first morning we woke together in the same bed and found in our love a lighthouse throwing its beams over the waves of our lives to guide us home on seas placid or stormy to this sunlit harbor in a summer land where hearts seek shelter and come at last to anchor in each other.
Okay. Thank you, Anna. Well, since I'm up here, I'll share what I came up with. Sort of not a traditional read, but our book club decided to, what'd we do? And nominate books that we nominated before but hadn't adopted in the book club. And the club selected To Kill a Mockingbird to reread. And I don't have a long quote from that great novel, but I did look up some quotes because they're, Goodreads lists over 1,000 quotes that readers have submitted in for this book alone. And so I thought I'd just give you the top 10 list and maybe relate them to Unitarian Universalism a little bit. So the number one, I guess I should go the other way, but number one is, you will never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb inside of his skin and walk around in it. This is a challenge that I have with our current president, but it is, I think, a truism. Number two, until I feared I would lose it, I never loved to read. One does not love breathing. That's why we're here. We're sharing readings. 3, I wanted to see if you want to see what real courage is, instead of getting the idea that courage is a man with a gun in his hand, it's when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway and see it through no matter what. I feel somewhat that way with battling climate change. We got to try. People generally see what they look for and hear what they listen to or listen for. That sort of characterizes the media today. Atticus told me to delete the adjectives and I'd have the facts. And I thought of the phrase undocumented workers there. I think there's just one kind of folks. That's the universalism attitude. Sometimes the Bible in the hand of one man is worse than a whiskey bottle in the hand of another. There are just some kind of men who are so busy worrying about the next world that they've never learned to live in this one. Again, that's sort of a UU credo. This is Scout talking. Atticus, he was real nice. And Atticus responds, most people are, Scout, when you finally see them. Inherent worth and dignity of everyone. Two more. They're certainly entitled to think that, and they're entitled to full respect for their opinions. But before I can live with other folks, I've got to live with myself. The one thing that doesn't abide by majority rule is a person's conscience. That's, Principle 4, the right of conscience, use of the democratic process. And the last one, probably the most famous. Atticus said to Jem one day, I'd rather you shot at tin cans in the backyard, but I know you'll go after birds. Shoot all the blue jays you want if you can hit them, but remember, it's a sin to kill a mockingbird. That was the only time I ever heard Atticus say it was a sin to do something. And I asked Miss Maudie about it. Your father's right, she said. Mockingbirds don't do one thing except make music for us to enjoy. They don't eat up people's gardens, don't nest in corn cribs. They don't do one thing but sing their hearts out for us. That's why it's a sin to kill a mockingbird. So maybe you'd want to reread that if you haven't reread it already.
Thank you, Don. Well, now we have a light up here so I can read this thing. This is a poem by Reverend Robin G. White. It's called Meta. It's about feelings that we have and we kind of treasure. The feel of a much-needed hug in a moment of sorrow. An unexpected helping hand from the stranger. The curl of the tiniest of fingers wrapped trustingly around your own. A gentle breeze on the cusp of autumn, and the way a leaf flies against it. The acrid scent of a dying sugar maple hurried against an amber October sunset. How the moon fills the sky and lights a child's face when she sees it. The way giggles sound sweeter when hurled against the din of a tide rising at their feet. The extended hand on the crowded too-fast bus, the arms carrying the wounded, and the hearts carrying their prayers, the church bell in the distance, and the train whistle calling memory home. All the tender places we land in our journeys, glances that smile, whispers that remind you, touches that feather sweetness, compassion and care. These moments when life unfurls sorrows, yields weariness, beckons the rest of us, burrows to the core, sways in endless fields of blossoms. You are the wind, the leaf, the tree. You are the raging ocean inviting giggles. You are the blessed setting sun, ablaze in fiery colors. You are the hum of home and the traveler. You are the dying and the giver of life. You are the sun and the moon and the stars. You are the promise that moves mountains. You are all that is good and loving and kind. You are life everlasting. I am you and you are me. We are unto one another. We are the thing unto itself. Thank you.
I've been recently reading essays rather than as much poetry as I do, and I was looking at Mary Oliver's essays, but then I picked up one of my go-to ones that's Anne Morrow Lindbergh, and Gifts from the Sea, if you've read that, and it looks like everybody's familiar to it, but to give it a little context, is she would sort of escape to this island from her domestic duties, her public duties. She had a big, many children and a very public life that kept her very occupied, and she needed this downtime on this island completely by herself. And it was a very simple life that she went to there. And let's see here. I'm going to read part of Women's life today is tending more and more toward the state of William James describes so well in the German word Zerrissenheit, torn to pieceshood. She cannot live perpetually in Zerrissenheit. She will be shattered into 1,000 pieces. On the contrary, she must consciously encourage those pursuits which oppose the centrifugal forces of today. Quiet time alone, contemplation, prayer, music, or a centering line of thought or reading, of study or work. It can be physical or intellectual or artistic, any creative life proceeding from oneself. It need not be an enormous project or a great work, but it should be something of one's own. Arranging a bowl of flowers in the morning can give a sense of quiet in a crowded day, like writing a poem or saying a prayer. What matters is that one be for a time inwardly attentive. Solitude, says the moon shell. Center down, say the Quaker saints. To the possession of the self, the way is inward, says Plotinus. The cell or self-knowledge is the stall in which the pilgrim must be reborn, says St. Catherine of Siena. Voices from the past. In fact, these are pursuits and virtues of the past, but done in another way today because done consciously, aware, with eyes open. Not done as before, as part of the pattern of the time. Not done because everyone else is doing them. Almost no one is doing them. Revolutionary, in fact, because almost every trend and pressure, every voice from the outside is against this new way of inward living. Woman must be the pioneer of this turning inward for strength. In a sense, she's always been the pioneer, less able until the last generations to escape from outward activities. The very limitations of her life forced her to look inward. And from looking inward, she gained an inner strength, which man in his outward active life did not as often find. But in our recent efforts to emancipate ourselves, to prove ourselves the equal of man, we've naturally enough, perhaps, been drawn to competing with him in his outward activities, to the neglect of our own inner springs. Why have we been seduced into abandoning this timeless inner strength of woman for the temporal outer strength of man? This outer strength of man is essential to the pattern, But even here, the reign of purely outer strength and purely outward solutions seems to be waning today. Men, too, are being forced to look inward, to find inner solutions as well as outer ones. Perhaps this change marks a new stage of maturity for the modern extrovert, activist, and materialistic Western man. Can it be that he is beginning to realize that the kingdom of heaven is within? And I thought that was interesting in the context of today, though she'd written this in 1954. You know, what has changed? And food for thought.
I wasn't sure I'd get here, so I didn't really have one prepared, but I remembered I had a book on my phone from one of my favorite writers, E.B. White. And this is a sentence that he wrote: "To hold America in one's thoughts is like holding a love letter in one's hand. It has so special a meaning." I love America, but I don't love what's happening now. Okay, the little essay I'm going to read is called "Dissenting Supreme Court Justice." It was written in June 22, 1929. "We disagree with Secretary of War Good, who told the West Point graduate that the profession of arms is, quote, the most honorable of all professions. It used to be, but it isn't anymore. One profession that is more noble today than that of soldier is that of dissenting justice of the Supreme Court. It's more honorable to be a dissenting justice than a brigadier general. More honorable because more important. Secretary of War Good charged his 299 brand new lieutenants with the nobility of courage, self-sacrifice, and devotion to ideals. But not long ago, Justice Holmes, dissenting from the opinion of the Supreme Court denying citizenship to Rosika Schwimmer, charged the people of the nation with another kind of nobility. All West Point graduates should read his words brighter than sword thrusts. Quote, if there is any principle of the Constitution that more imperatively calls for attachment than any other, it is the principle of free thought. Not free thought for those who agree with us, but freedom for the thought we hate. E.B. White.
Good morning. The thoughts I wanted to share this morning, actually I, like a lot of you, probably went out and Googled some good ideas, looking for things that might be interesting. And there's a lot going on in our country right now that invites us to become activists, that motivates us to become activists. And so I was looking for, what does Unitarian Universalism say about activism? And interestingly enough, up came an article from the UU magazine. And the UU magazine, I don't even know the date of it, but it asked several notable, influential people this question and asked them to answer it. And the question was, do you need to be an activist to be a Unitarian Universalist? I thought, well, that's interesting. So I read through them, and the one that really struck me was written, they were little short essays or responses to that question. And the one that struck me was written by Takaya Nur Amin. Does that name ring a bell with anybody? It didn't me, so I looked her up. Who is this lady? She's actually a professor. She's a dance scholar, of all things, an educator and academic success strategist. And she's been very, very involved with the Unitarian Universalist Society for the last 20 years. Her writings have been featured in the UU World magazine. She's a she's a woman of color, a former religious education assistant at a large congregation, has been, a facilitator of the Thrive Young Adult Grow Racial Justice Program, and she's been very involved in many, many things related to UU. And so I thought her response to the question, do you need to be an activist to be a Unitarian Universalist? Her response, I don't like this question. Because, of course, on the face of it, the answer is no. You don't need to be an activist in the quotidian sense of participating in protests or demonstrations to bring about social and political change. But that's not the end of the answer. The truth of the matter is that Unitarian Universalists, as a faith and philosophy, calls us to work toward building a sustainable, equitable context for all of us to live and thrive, and there is no getting around that. If you embrace and believe in our principles, dignity, justice, equity, and compassion, you can't sit idly by in the absence of those ideals in our society. We are supposed to uphold, as a matter of principle, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. How does anyone propose we get there if we don't take action to make it happen? This isn't about calling yourself an activist or an organizer or anything else. It's about being a person who lives out their principles in their home, at their job, in their congregation, and everywhere else their life might take them. I'm frankly tired of hearing fellow UUs saying, I'm not an activist, or I don't come to this faith to be an activist, because it misses the point. This faith requires something of us in return for being our ideological home, and that requires that we get up, get out, and build the world we dream about. I don't care that anyone calls them what anyone calls themselves, but if you aren't called to act in, on, and through our principles, maybe you shouldn't call yourself a Unitarian Universalist. So. And then I would just say, too, Anne has brought up through an email thread that she would like this organization to be a beacon of social justice. And I sent back a draft of maybe we should think about that for our vision statement, of adding that statement to our vision statement, and we'll be talking about that with the board.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing and for listening. Oops, that's right. How many times? Medieval help desk, I need it. Announcements, and I forgot, next Saturday is Paula Lugar's memorial gathering here from 1 to 3. So if you knew Paula, I think we all did, and you want to come and share some memories about her, or just reflect on our connection with Paula and meet her family. Very low-key gathering next Saturday. And Don, do we need any help with that event at all?
Yeah, I put out a call last Sunday, so if you're willing to make a treat or so, just a small thing, like we bring on Sunday morning occasionally. I say we.
All the treats and anchors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like coffee and dessert. So we bring
Yeah. Finger foods, but cheese and crackers or something could,
So
if
just
easy.
Contact me.
Yeah.
A few of you have already contacted me, but contact me again, and maybe I'll reach out to other people.
Okay. Next Sunday is Mark Clappich Matthias with a
Hope for Earth, new initiative.
Hope for Earth, okay, initiative. So that's important in our community. And then Janelle Ludwig-Krause, who's the executive director of GROW, is going to talk about her path to social activism. Fits right into some of the readings we've had today. She's, to me, a very energizing person in this area, so I always like listening to her. We have a potluck picnic scheduled for the fourth Sunday in the month. There's information in the newsletter about that. We can get more details if people want more, but most of the information is in the newsletter. And then Unidos training. Unidos is a Hispanic-focused social action group, very successful in the Twin Cities. And because the River Falls Community Library is undergoing remodeling, their community spaces are not available. So we've been getting requests here to use our space. This is one of them, but this fits perfectly with our mission. They're going to hold what they call an upstander training. Again, more information is in the newsletter. It's on August 27th, right? It's going to teach interested people how to deal with ICE and support immigrants who might be targeted by ICE to help them in the various ways that they can be helped to keep them from being disappeared. So if you're interested, there's a RSVP form. It's in the newsletter, but if you want more information, you can contact me about that too. And on the last Sunday in August, there's no service because it's a fifth Sunday, and gosh, it's Labor Day, and let's take a break and re-energize for our next sort of UU year. Any other announcements? There are some produce items from the garden in the kitchen. You're welcome to go in the garden and pick anything that's there that looks interesting. If anybody wants these flowers to take home, please do. Any other announcements that I'm not remembering?
Just, I think, the continuing need for ideas for
Programming, sharing. Oh, I do have one more. Yeah, you've got something done.
Okay, well, as Ann said, with the library out of commission for meeting space, we have been getting some requests, and besides this Unidos request, we have a couple in September and in October, and Thomas R. wants to do the Beatles tribute in December. Along that lines, there's been some interest in continuing the Music in the Park series in the wintertime. So hopefully this space will be filled with music maybe once a month if that comes through. But next month, we might be hosting a week-long health survey out of UW-Madison, which is a good use of the building, and another health insurance company wants to rent the space for 4 days, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So the building, you'll see, is going to be used more often than last year. Looking forward to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we need to keep it looking nice, right? So people are impressed with our facilities. I do have one more announcement. I was contacted by the organizer of WUSON, which is Wisconsin Unitarian Universalist Social Action Network, which is a coalition of UU churches in Wisconsin. They have this postcard writing campaign going, and the question was, would we be willing to write some postcards? They were ordering 5,000, and I said, yeah, we'll take 100. So I have 100 postcards here. I think it's a national effort that's going on, so it's not just Wisconsin, it's really not just WUSON. So I don't know if you can see this, it says the majority of Americans support background checks, trans rights protection, safe and legal abortion, paths to citizenship. These are not extreme ideas, these are our common ground. And don't we need to let our legislators know that there is common ground, right, in this fractured political situation. So if you've got time, it really amounts to writing 6 postcards, and I have the stamps, And all you really need to do is sign your name and put your city, so the legislator knows that you are actually a constituent. But if you want to write a little message that says, yes, do this or something, or yes, this matters, and address the card. I have the addresses for our local legislators. Anna, you can do this, because it's national. I can get you your legislators' addresses. So it would be Ron Johnson and Tammy Baldwin and Derek Van Orden and Rob Staff-Schultz probably, and Shannon Zimmerman. And so the local people, so there's 6 of them if you have time to do that. If not, I have the addresses on a piece of paper. I can send you home with 6 postcards and stamps if you just do it at your leisure in this next week and get them mailed. That would be wonderful. But again, each person can really only do 6, so I need to find 15 or 16 people that are willing to do these 6 cards. So if you know somebody who would also take the time to do the 6, take the postcards and help with this small social action project. Okay. All right, no other announcements, I think. As usual, we appreciate your presence and presence. So thank you for being here today. Coffee? Time to chat? I didn't bake this morning, but there are other treats in the kitchen, and all the cucumbers you want. So, oops, one more, not one more.
That's it.
No.
Oh, I didn't, well, there, would you please stand and